Rink Vancouver. Pre-game, post-game, every game presented by Bodog. From sports odds to free casino games, make a play. Bodog.net. Wadden and JPat here with you once again with another edition of the pre-game show as the Canucks try to pull out the brooms on the road trip. JPat headed into St. Louis to square off against the Blues.
Yeah, they've been sweeping teams away here 4-0 against San Jose this year. Then they went into Dallas, made it 3-0 against the Stars. Here they have a chance to sweep this road trip, but they can't sweep the Blues. St. Louis was a 5-1 winner in Vancouver just before Christmas. But if you remember the last time they were in St. Louis, Pettersson, big third period. Canucks had a frantic finish, tied it up in the EP40 in overtime, beat Jordan Binnington down the left side. So the Canucks and the Blues each with a win in this season series. And I know there's no playoff implications, but these teams are neck and neck. In fact, they're separated by 1 point in the standings. The Canucks with 73 points and the Blues with 72. So the last game was close. These teams are close in the standings. Let's see what tonight's matchup looks like on the ice.
Let's get to the lineup change. It's presented by Delaney's OK Tire out there on Fraser Highway in Langley. Interesting look to the lines today at the morning skate.
Yeah, Aiden McDonough looks like he's going to come out of the lineup, and his buddy Jack Rathbone as well. Looks like Vitaly Kravtsov's going to get back in there, and Guillaume Brisebois, who's missed a couple of games, looks like he will slide in. Now, we should caution that the Canucks had a morning skate in Dallas on Saturday, and when they lined up for the game, the lines were a little bit different, so maybe Rick Tocchet's playing some mind games. Who knows? But based on the morning skate, McDonough and Rathbone come out of the lineup. Looks like Vasily Podkolzin is going to miss a second straight game. That'll leave Jack Studnicka in the lineup. And in goal, Thatcher Demko goes back between the pipes, had the night off in Chicago. You look at Demko in his return to the lineup from injury, 10 starts. He's 7-3, but beyond that, a 2.11 goals against average and a sparkling 92.5 save percentage. So he's been on top of his game. He's rested, and I'm sure he'll be ready to go tonight.
Elias Pettersson's been on top of his game this season. He stuck it to the Blackhawks on Sunday. Stuck it to the Blues the last time he was in St. Louis as well.
Yeah, and we talked about the overtime winner. You look at the game in Chicago the other night, 2 third-period goals. What were they, 1 minute and 3 seconds apart? Sort of turned that game in the Canucks' favor. One of them coming at even strength, one of them on the power play. So Elias Pettersson finding different ways to get it done. His point streak is up to an even dozen now, so he's going to try to extend that. And yeah, that third period, the last time in St. Louis, absolutely took over the game. Short-handed assist to JT Miller, and then a last-second assist as Andrei Kuzmenko forced overtime. And then, as we said, Petey picked up the puck in overtime. There was no looking back and whistled it past Jordan Binnington. I'm sure he'd love to do it again this evening.
Been a tough season for Brock Boeser, but seems like he's playing his best hockey right now.
Yeah, he scored in back-to-back games. That's the first time that has happened. He has 3 points in the first couple of games of this road trip. And his next point will be his 50th of the season. There's been so much talk in the market about Brock Boeser and the kind of season he's had. 15 goals, that's a disappointing total, but his next point will give him 50, which isn't terrible considering we feel like it's been an off year for him and there's been struggles, but does feel a little bit like since the trade deadline, he's been freed up just a touch, and I think he recognized all that noise that was surfacing around the trade deadline, and really, it's been the last couple of seasons his name has surfaced in trade talks, but he knew once the trade deadline came and went, and he was still a Canuck, that he was here for the duration of this season, and I think that's just freed him up. He has a little bit of chemistry going on that line with JT Miller and Phil DiGiuseppe, and so we'll see if Brock Boeser can reach the 50-point night tonight in St. Louis.
I don't know if the newcomer Philip Hronek is a lucky charm for the Canucks, but they are 3-0 with him in the lineup.
Yeah, hard to argue with the win-loss record. And beyond that, hasn't been on the ice for an even strength goal. Now, it's only been 3 games. I recognize that. And one of them was against San Jose and the other one was against Chicago. So 2 of the weaker teams in the National Hockey League. But the fact that teams aren't scoring when Hronek's out there, they've outscored their opponents. It's 2-0 in even strength. So it's not a massive gap, but still, you like the fact that he's kept it pretty clean and tidy when he's been out there. And you look at his usage, 22 minutes and change on the low end, up to 26 minutes. So, you know, he's played a lot in all situations, and we'll see what he can do in St. Louis tonight.
Blues and Kings played a baseball-type game the other night on Sunday. Big score there, but St. Louis has been pretty good as of recent.
Yeah, that was a funny game because it was 5-1 for Los Angeles. After 20 minutes, they were blowing the barn doors off the Blues, and then the Blues chipped away, and as you said, ends up as a 7-6 final. So it wasn't a great night for the goaltenders, but it was a pretty good night for some of the scorers. Jordan Kyrou, who is the leading scorer for the St. Louis Blues, he had a pair of goals in that one. And yeah, they ended up losing that game at Crypto.com, but that was their first outright loss in 6 games. They were 4-0-1 prior to that. So they had a little bit of momentum going, but ran into a bit of a wall in Los Angeles. They're at home tonight, and we'll see if they can pick up and get back on the right track.
The Blues stripped down the 2019 Stanley Cup winning team over the trade deadline. They got the young guns that are now taking over in St. Louis.
Very much a team in transition. Ryan O'Reilly, Vladimir Tarasenko, and Ivan Barbashev, 3 of the biggest names that were peddled. The Blues were active in some other ways around the trade deadline as well. And so, yes, they turned this team over to Jordan Kyrou and Robert Thomas, but then they went out and they picked up Kasperi Kapanen on waivers. They traded for Jakub Vrana from the Detroit Red Wings as well. And so they're trying to surround those 2 players, Kyrou and Thomas, with other players sort of in that same age range that maybe needed a change of scenery. And I don't know that you replace all the intangibles that a Ryan O'Reilly brings to your hockey club, but they are moving forward, and it's certainly a new time in St. Louis. Yes, that 2019 Stanley Cup in the rearview mirror.
Pavel Buchnevich, though, having himself a solid season for the Blues.
Yeah, now he had a really good year last year as a 30-goal scorer and a 76-point guy. He's not going to reach those totals, but he's got 24 goals and 40 assists, so he's got 64 points, and he's done it in 58 games, so he missed a chunk of time. So he's better than a point-a-game player. We talk about Kyrou and Thomas as sort of the 2 leaders, and they are, but Pavel Buchnevich kind of quietly going about his business and putting up numbers and producing for the St. Louis team, and I think they believe that he can be a big part of what they're trying to put together there.
Time now for the stat that stands out. It's presented by Jason Hronek at jason.mortgage.
Yes, we are just over a week away from the Masters. And why am I talking about golf here on a hockey pregame show? Because you know how it works in the NHL. The guy with the worst plus minus is often referred to as wearing the green jacket. Well, one of the co-leaders, do we call them leaders when you're that far down? Whatever the case, Jordan Kyrou of the Blues and Drake Batherson of the Ottawa Senators, both at minus 34. Woo. That's a stat that stands out. Batherson was a minus last night in Ottawa's win over Florida, so Kyrou was the solo guy atop the leaderboard. He's got some company there, and we'll see if that shifts with this game against the Canucks tonight. But minus 34, that stands out for all the wrong reasons. But the stat that stands out, a presentation of Jason Hronek at jason.mortgage.
Okay, time for my Bodog Best Bet. Feeling good about this one tonight. I got Andrei Kuzmenko, anytime goal scorer at plus 150. Just 1 goal in his last 6 games. You know this guy. He loves to rack up the goals. He's getting one tonight against the Blues.
And a new look to that top line. It's Elias Pettersson in the middle, Kuzmenko on the one side, and Dakota Joshua getting the promotion. In fact, he got it in the 3rd period in Chicago, had that big hit that led to the Elias Pettersson goal. The coach liked what he saw, and so Dakota Joshua is going to start on that line. So a little bit of a new wrinkle, and we'll see what the big winger can do in terms of getting in, winning some puck battles, get the puck to guys like Pettersson and Kuzmenko, and we'll see if Andrei Kuzmenko can come through and make you a winner with your best bet tonight.
All right, I need Kuz to do something for me. Who's going to do something for you in this game?
Well, I'm going right back to Brock Boeser, and he has been doing something. We talked about him maybe playing his best hockey of the season, has scored in back-to-back games for the first time all year, so obviously he hasn't scored in 3 straight, but he has that opportunity tonight. And again, it's not just the fact that he's scoring. He hit the crossbar in the 3rd period in Chicago. The goal in Dallas was sort of a vintage Brock Boeser snapshot, beat the goaltender. And he seems to have found a little bit of an extra gear. Now, it's all relative because skating's never going to be his strong suit, but we joked in Dallas, he looked like he was shot out of a cannon as he tried to track down an icing late in the hockey game. The other night in Chicago, he was motoring around the ice as well. I just think he's in a pretty good headspace now. Perhaps can see the end of the season and look ahead to an offseason that probably will, again, involve his name in trade talks. But in the here and now, he's not going anywhere, but he is going for the Vancouver Canucks. And so I'm looking for Brock Boeser to do something again here as the Canucks face the Blues.
All right, the Canucks are rolling right now. Let's see if they can run the table on the road trip, get another W, this time in St. Louis. This has been another edition of the Rink Wide Vancouver podcast, presented by Bodog. For Jeff Patterson, I'm Andrew Wadden. Remember, Rink Wide is the show that always scores.